Well, we have been out for a walk in the rain, haven't we? My beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Mr. Miro is all ready to do some drawing. So if you're ready to do some drawing, let's do it. Let's get into some drawing. This way. Well, hello and welcome back. Yes, me and Mr. Miro are out walking in the rain. He had to go to the vet to have a kind of booster jab, so he had a bit of injection in his bottom. But he is fine and happy and well. And we're going to get into some drawing. Today's request is a monk. A monk. So I'm going to try to come up with some kind of monk of some sort. Start with that. And some kind of monk clothing down there, maybe. I'll decide on the rest of it as I draw, but that's kind of like the first kind of feeling and image you get of a monk. And I'm going to start off somewhere over here. I'm going to give him some very big kind of googly eyes. I won't be giving him any eyebrows because I never really think of monks with eyebrows. Something kind of starey, I always kind of feel like with monks. I used to go up into the mountains a lot when we were in China, and there was always monks there, and they would always kind of look at you as you walk past. So maybe that's where the staring monk kind of comes from. Maybe that's what we should call it. Maybe we should call it the staring monk. That's how I always remember them anyway. I kind of remember them as these kind of orange robed men that used to walk. And quite quite mysterious in a way, the way they used to kind of climb up through all these mountains and such. So we have changed seasons in the UK. We are back to the monsoon rain, and it is raining crazily heavy at the moment. And it has been raining crazily heavy for the last couple of days. In fact, we woke up about 6 this morning and all we could hear was rain outside. So we were lucky enough that the rain stopped for a few seconds while we ran up the road, had a jab in his bottom, and came home. It's always... Well, I mean, it's one of these things with these kind of veterinary places that there's certain injections that they need to do to remain kind of safe and healthy and what. And of course, I like to keep Mr. Miro super healthy. He's under my table at the moment, fast asleep. But I thought I'd get him in there at the beginning of the video, just so you can guys see that he's happy, healthy and wealthy and wise and all that stuff. So, a monk. I'm not quite sure why the request for a monk was, but they didn't really explain. It's nice when people, if you do have a request, it kind of adds to the story for me a little bit. You know, please draw a monk because my dad became a monk when, or something. You know, some kind of strange, kind of twisted story to add to it. Otherwise, you just have to hear me waffle on and babble on about monks and what they mean to me. And they're in Asia when I was in Korea and I was in China for many years. So monks are very much a constant. I mean, we would kind of go up to the mountains to kind of see these kind of temples and such, and quite remarkable too. And people used to come up and leave food and mostly rice and fruit, and it was one of the things that the difference in culture was that for me I would burn incense to make a nice smell in the house, and I still do. But for them it was much more kind of meaningful and spiritual, and in some cases certain smells were with funerals and things like that. So I kind of constantly would be burning things, and people would be asking me, "Oh my God, what's happened?" And I'd be like, "Oh no, just fancy a smell." And I'd be like, so it's quite a very different culture, beautiful. I loved my time in the Far East. Have very fond memories, and indeed have 2 kids from the Far East. My children, as we would say, my children have grown up now. In fact, the twist on Asia is that my daughter actually, who is kind of like half Irish, half Chinese, I guess, is actually in Korea at the moment, in South Korea at the moment, and she is studying, and she can speak fluent Korean as well. She's just one of those. Well, she's this modern generation of. I think I'll learn Spanish this weekend. Which is what my daughter is like. She is just incredible, really. She's really, really rather incredible, and so she is out in Korea at the moment studying. I can't remember what one she's studying, business or. I think it was going to be law at one point, but changed over. So there's not so many of the kind of the type of thing you see in London. You don't kind of see them walking around kind of begging or things like that. Monks in Asia are very respectful, and they are, you usually see them up in the temples or up in the mountains if you're walking in the mountains for some of these. They do these kind of walks for your family and things like that. If you've had people that have passed, you usually walk up to the temple and burn some incense and pray. So there's lots of that type of thing. Mind you, he has turned into quite a wild monk. I should probably give him a bowl of fruit or something just to. Where's that lovely paintbrush gone? I kind of pulled out a paintbrush because I really wanted to get all those kind of folds and wrinkles that you get with a monk, and I thought that the brush would kind of add a lot to those kind of let's see if I can kind of finish it up there. I like the idea of him kind of standing on something. But the kind of the way that they are dressed is very much kind of much looser than the kind of monks that we would see in Robin Hood or something like that. They're much more kind of like wrapped in a blanket, almost like a brown orangey blanket from my memory. And I'm going to get in there and give him a bowl of fruit. It's one of those kind of things you kind of see them kind of carrying fruit and such. So I thought I'd get in there and draw a bowl of peaches and apples and such. Peaches were very popular, I remember. In peach season, I mean, there's obviously a lot of monkeys and stuff like that also in the mountains when we were going. So a lot of the fruit is also taken by them. But I'm sure, you know, they're very, very welcome to it as well. I'm sure the monks are very open to the whole idea of the kind of forest beasts taking some of the fruit. And oh man, he's looking gorgeous. What do you think? Do you like my monk? My wild mountain monk? Check my numbers are moving. There's a video that is stuck. I did a video of the spy and it seems to have been stuck. YouTube at the moment are being very, very difficult. So my video from yesterday, the speed one actually went up, but the full length video seems to have, it's taken a couple of days now and it still has not appeared. I'm not quite sure what's happened. But it will be there soon, so hang on, it's coming. That's our monk. Again, I feel like I need a little bit of the brush there to kind of feel that. To feel the kind of swoop of his lapel, his sleeve, sorry. What a lovely idea for someone to suggest a monk. And it adds a lot to the drawing day. I mean, it's like, it's always nice to have a subject, a suggestion from you lovely people. It is always nice. It always kind of adds to the whole kind of excitement of it. In my, it'd be nice. I just see you see down here. There's this blob here, and it almost making me think that there are toes, and it's giving me a beautiful idea that maybe they are, Maybe that little blob is suggesting that he has got his bare feet. And one thing that monks do not have is pretty toes. Since they are walking on them all day long, they are quite gnarly, chewed up toes. So there's one toe. Maybe he's standing on a rock. Wouldn't that be cool if he was standing on a rock? Put a little bit of shading there under from his robes, and get some kind of rock that he is standing on. It's almost like he's standing almost like a King Kong kind of pose. He's standing like on top of some kind of tower, but this is not a tower. This is like some kind of rock that's sticking out of nowhere. You see? Maybe I can even do like the sun in the distance there, so you can see how high up he is. Clouds in the distance there. So that's how high up he is standing with his bowl of fruit. Maybe he doesn't want to share it. Maybe he's a greedy monk, this one. He doesn't want to share his fruit with anybody. So that is our monk for today. I mean, what a beautiful character. I mean, I love the way that these characters just kind of come out of nowhere. They just, from the depths of your brain, these characters come from. And I absolutely love it. I'm very, very, very tempted to put some colour in, and we've been dabbling with colour this week, and I have really enjoyed seeing some of the drawings kind of burst to life almost. Though I don't like dabbing down the drawings. I don't like. That is definitely something I don't like doing. I don't like kind of force drying it. But sometimes it needs to be done when you're in the mood for it's actually very, very, very nice. I love the kind of wild stare that he has got going on there. Let's see if I've got a brush that will do that. Is that some brown from yesterday? It is. And I think that might actually add a lot to his stare if I was to do that. If I was to kind of get in there and darken up some of that. It kind of gives a little bit of a kind of a more of a kind of intensity to his stare by doing so. It's quite nice. It'll actually come up beautiful once it's dry, that's for sure. Again, I'm just going to dampen down some of that so it doesn't get too intense. Also, if you dry it a little bit quicker, it adds a little bit more texture to it. Certain things dry and it gives a nice unevenness to it. And that is our monk. Let's just try that as well. If I soften that area there. And do I have I've got some yellow, but I'm just seeing if I could possibly add a little bit of drama to the teeth, as it were. There's something. Oh, that wasn't very nice. I've got to be a little bit more careful about which teeth are wet. As you can see, the tooth will turn black if I'm not careful. Another one. But a touch of color is enough to make it just burst. Sometimes that tiny touch of color is enough really to make things just burst to life. But I also feel like with my style of painting and my style of drawing, I do feel like I don't like to add too much paint anyway. I don't like it to we did talk a little bit about it yesterday, about this kind of the Quentin Blake approach, which is a very messy, almost childish approach to his painting, but somehow it works, and it is just so magical. It is so magical that it just seems to fit. And if you were to paint anything else with it, you might think, oh, it's a bit messy. But for his style, it absolutely works. Oh dear, dear, dear. Catch that before it goes too crazy. My apologies for that. But it's very difficult to kind of draw in this style and retain a level of dryness for the paint. In fact, I wonder if these pens would work. These are these dreadful marker pens, but and something that I am really not a fan of at all. But maybe they would add a little bit of sweeping color to his robes. These are quite a dreadful source for colour. I don't like them, but maybe for this it will work. Maybe I'll put a little bit of a wash over the top might soften it down, but cool. Very nice. That's not bad. That's not bad. That has worked out not too bad. Although I will probably never use those ever again. They're quite horrible, to be honest. But maybe if I add a little bit of a wash, it will add more to the approach. Lovely. Adding a little bit of red on top of the orange just to bring the folds forward a little bit, and it makes the character stand out more also. So that is our monk. The monk is kind of on this rocky mountain. So that is today's drawing, the monk. The monk is on the rock. It was a little bit messy there with things being too wet, but as you know, I can be very, very, very impatient on waiting for things to dry, and I do understand that if I was to take time out and wait for it to dry, I might actually be a lot kind of softer with the colors. But sometimes it's nice just to catch it in the moment, and that is definitely where I am. I do prefer to kind of catch it in a sketch form. I do like to catch things very loose and wild, and it captures a lot of your instant thoughts. So that is today's drawing, and if I can, I might even be tempted to drop in a little bit of blue around the edge of this just to frame our monk in the sky, as it were. So that is our monk, and I hope the person that asked for a monk is pleased with today's sketch. He is a monk, a wild, kind of crazy monk with a wild stare, with his bowl of fruit, and he's balancing on some very high rock. So that is today's sketch, and I hope it's nice. I hope you like it. And if you did, come back and see me tomorrow for some more drawing with me, Kieron Seamons. See you tomorrow.